I'm proud to share the stage with Massimo Pascotto from Scandinavian Airlines. And I met SAS and Massimo a couple of years ago. And we looked at what's going on in the market, what are companies doing. And at that time, SAS was doing what most other companies were doing, were like playing around, experimenting, building brand in the App Store. There was this time killer app that SAS had published, had a few nice games in it. Branding, experimenting, fun and games. So we sat down and had a conversation about mobile strategy. Because for everything that we want to become business critical, business relevant, business critical, you need to have a mobile or a strategy for. And for mobility, you need to have a mobile strategy. So we had a conversation about mobile strategy. And how to inject mobility into business and how to inject business into mobility. What do we need to do? At the end or during this strategy process with SAS, we came up with the first couple of apps that drives sales through crisp and clean booking, flight search, seating, check-in, all the basic core features that you as a customer, a user, expect to find from, in this particular instance, SAS. Put that center and core. And a couple of days ago, we released an inspirational app for the iPad that builds on the inspirational aspects of travel and inspiring people to travel. This presentation, we would like to share with you some of the lessons that we learned and how we came about ending up with these apps to begin with.
And very good morning to everyone. My name is Massimo. I'm the second Italian on stage this year at Web Diagonal, so it's a huge improvement, I think, right? And so apologize my accent and actually that I'm taking this one in English. I've been working for the company like 13 years almost, different jobs in the last year since 2005. When I moved here and started working in the head office, working primarily with e-commerce and digital, and been running different projects from CMS, web analytic, web pages designers, e-commerce modules, and so on. The most coolest actually project that I've been running was actually the last one, the one that we're going to talk about today. But talking about the business, you know, when we started the project with Andreas, it was like a couple of years ago. It was a more strategic project. So we went through all the steps that you need to do in order to build a business case. And we started from user interview, of course, and 74% of users were carrying a smartphone. And that was enough to build a business case at that time. 74%.
That's not a lot today. It's like 100% today.
You don't even ask the question today, right?
No, right.
You know, it's expected that you're carrying a smartphone. So, and again, at that time, when we look up the statistic on the website on SAS.se, 7% was coming from mobile devices. And at that time, it was like, wow, 7% of our users are using an interface that was not designed for that device. And now we checked yesterday the statistic, and we have 25% of traffic on SAS.se coming from mobile devices.
And
it
that's
makes
still
sense,
when
right?
you're not really finished with the responsive web design and what's cooking in the lab now. This is the number you have.
And we are going to see it later.
Right.
And that's actually number one in the travel sector, in the travel category for different months. And if I'm not wrong, today we are still there. So talking about the numbers, of course, our e-commerce, website is huge. It's probably one of the biggest ones. We're selling for 1 billion kronor every year. But the app and all the business case around the app was built around the ability to provide a tool for making a booking. And we do have today roughly 10-12 million kronor every month coming in from mobile booking. How did we get there? How do we design? And that's what we're going to talk a little bit later. We started plotting up the travel journey, which you see on the very top. So this is from inspiration from choosing airlines, making a booking, get ready at the airport to check in, at departure, at the gate, on board. So we've been plotting the different features and business that we wanted to deliver, functionality we want to deliver, and we're trying to make some prioritization, and I'm telling you later how we went there. Here on the bottom, there was no rooms in the slide to put that there. There are the user needs. So for each of these steps, we have what the user need in order to make a booking, how the users will interact when they are at the airport, at the check-in or at the gate. And this one is probably the most interesting part when talking about mobility in an app, because we differentiate how do we deliver the different features, the different services, the different functionality across the different channels. So SaaS app, the website, the email, the SMS, voice, TV, kiosk, you name it. And the app is actually the first one that is marked on red. Is actually the only channels that cover the full travel chain. We can inspire people. You're going to talk about this. We can allow them to make a booking. We can allow them to make a check-in. We can even now introduce and making usage of the app on board, because we have some tails that keep it with the Wi-Fi on board. In a destination, sharing, bragging, and even feedback and customer relationship after the trip was done. So how did we get there?
Focusing on then the core features representing the full journey experience from a functional point of view. When you start to conceptualize and design these features, it makes sense to decide on what characteristics should we build into these features, and we ended up selecting four characteristics. So the first one is about immediacy, and an immediacy characteristic inside of an app is all about making the information and functionality extremely immediate to reach. It could be the first screen in the app, for example, that makes sense for the user in that particular context and time. So it's immediately available to me when I should check in or when I can do the reseating and things like that. So the immediacy factor is really important. And really, when it comes to to scoping the functional aspects of an app, it's really important to, if you haven't addressed the core features first, it's easy that you can quickly become irrelevant in this channel, even irritating. So look at and listen, try to understand what your customer is having as basic needs first in your projects. The second characteristic is about individualism. That is about being able to sign in, log in, personalize, have my profile, store my passenger details, and get even further down the road the ability to control how the app notifies you and when it notifies you and with what it notifies you. So it's about personalization. It's a really important characteristics of a personal thing like the phone. The third characteristic is about inspiration. And when you look at mobility and mobile solutions projects, it's easy to make a fundamental mistake about inspiration, to make a faulty assumption that the user is always in a hurry or in a rush when using the device. And then you just de-scope and you thin it out and you don't take the entire scope and present that to the user. In fact, when you are using your phone or your tablet, it's often in a very relaxed state and you have a lot of time. So it's a good opportunity to also inspire about your products and services. So inspiration is really important. Inspiration can drive transaction. And then fourth, I think this is the trickiest part, the innovation. In order to stand out and catch curiosity from your customers, it's important to inject the right amount of innovation into the core features that you're building. If you are all about innovation, it's easy that you get to become quirky or that it appears to be just fun and games. So make sure that you have a firm ground to stand on when it comes to the core features and the core business drivers, and then add innovation to that. So this is a really important balance. And it also needs to, we need to ask ourselves the question, what is our innovation management process look like? How do we catch new ideas internally as well as externally? How do we prioritize them? How do we get influenced? How do we decide if it's a prototype, a concept, or we inject innovation into an ongoing project? This is all about innovation management, and it's really core when it comes to mobile projects. So we ended up covering, I think, fairly well 3 of these characteristics. And I will talk about inspiration a little bit later. The individualism is again, my bookings early on, first screen, immediacy is the stored passenger information, makes the booking through just a series of very few taps extremely rapid. And then innovation, which I think can look maybe a little bit humble, like it does here. But you see the slider. Most of you who travel with Scandinavian Airlines, you may have some membership points and how to use them and where to redeem them. And we put a little slider there, so it's really easy to decide if you want to pay all in cash or with your points that you may have on your account. With that basic feature, we're seeing now the points being used. So that's a small part of innovation, and these are the 3 characteristics that we ended up with in the first round.
And this one created the foundation for starting designing. We took this key characteristic, we put it on the wall, and we start pretty much the design process. And the design process looks like a holistic, exactly UX oriented, in which we start from sketching, going to wireframing and design. And I remember we started, was probably the most complex part of this process was actually starting from the whiteboard, from a white sheet. We probably spent more time on doing sketches for critical screen than to do
many
wireframe.
late nights at Arlanda.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is how it looked like. We started from this is we call it the upsell page. This is the most important page that we have in the app. In an e-commerce perspective, is where we want to invite users to upsell, so to buy more expensive ticket like economy extra or business class. So we at the same time we had to preserve the simplicity, the one-tap operation to get the things straightforward. So we started like that. This is my ugly handwriting. I'm really a bad sketch guy. And we try different stuff there, which created the foundation to get to wireframe, which is more details and actually included a wider roadmap. For instance, we have a filter in there that the visual design didn't have. And then once this one was done, it was actually not difficult to get the visual design in place. And how do we get the visual design? We started with a so-called mood board. So we check out different brand elements from the SIS brand, interior on board, for instance, check-in, and we look up outside, benchmarking, but not only related to flight industry, but to the design industry in general. So we put up this mood board, which was like, yes, this is the feeling that we would like to have. This is the emotion we would like to have with the app. This one brought us to create a style sheet. And yes, we're using skeuomorphism, was mentioned early yesterday, if I'm not wrong, which is like bringing the reality, the design reality into the mobile app. So we actually, these are the new pictures or the new interior on board that are not implemented yet, but they are in the pipeline.
And so then all of a sudden, Apple decided to change their mind on skeuomorphism.
We need to start over pretty much.
All right.
And yes, we have the wooden background, so the wooden background comes from the wooden background that we will have in business class seats, all the lighting effect from the very top calls in, the spotlight that we have on board. And the mid-blue elements are recalling the new check-in counters that are equipped across all Scandinavia. So we wanted to get this connection and testing, Andreas.
Importance of testing, as what you build grow in relevance, as what you build becomes business critical, you need to increase your investments and your focus on testing and quality assurance. We found in a global study we did last year that only 1/3 who is active in the mobile channel of companies making significant investments there, only 1/3 has a structured approach to mobile testing. Mobile functional testing, compatibility testing, performance testing, security testing, all of that really has to be in place to ensure that what you build works. So testing is it's really important in your projects. And when you look at the App Store reviews for these particular apps that we're talking about, we have a lot of 5-star reviews, clean, crisp, easy to use, and then we have a few 1-star reviews. And the 1-star reviews are all about this particular challenge in the one part of the booking process. That has been really tricky to run through the tests, and we're really focusing really hard to address these issues. And to us, it's been a really important point to listen to the feedback here on the App Store, on Twitter, wherever the customer wants to voice the opinion, and to inject this into the testing process even, so we get the iterations and the planning for the next cycle to focus on these comments also. So we're about to wrap up. I just want to share with you what's cooking now in the lab together with Scandinavian Airlines and Massimo. As I said, we just released the iPad app SAS Explore with the understanding and insight that inspiration drives transactions. So with stunning photos and some innovative social media integration, from YouTube and Yelp and Flickr. Maybe Flickr will get some new boost from Yahoo and Marissa Mayer. And some other social media streams, making it interesting to explore the destinations you're interested in. What about the soccer game or the opera, and when it's playing, and you can start to plan your travel around that. And the next few steps. All right.
Yes, and we are pretty much done with our journey. But I really care to leave you with a couple of lessons that I personally learned during these 2 years of development, from strategy to implementation to innovation. And the first one is insights and ideas. Bring people together. Read the data, read your insight data. Make them to work, co-create, co-design. The second one is reframe problems. I mean, if I ask Andreas, to build me a car, and Andreas, can build a car, right? Or you can come back to me and asking, why do you need a car? And then I'm telling, yeah, because I need to go from Gothenburg to Stockholm. And then this one open up a frame of opportunity, right? Because then maybe you can fly, you can take the train, you can even take the boat eventually, and you can go even further. So, ask by starting why all the time, because the question why open up a frame of new opportunities that create new solutions. And just to give you an example about that, actually, it was the sliders in the Eurobonus sliders with the points and in the payment page. If you would ask our Eurobonus department to say, I wanted to have the possibility to have a booking flow that enables people to purchase a Word ticket. And we didn't want to go there. We didn't want to create a different flow. So we actually said, okay, it became a form of payment, right? Yeah. You pay part of the trip with points. Innovation is about making people's life better. And simplicity is the catalyst of that. And, SIS is investing a lot of resources or energy to make the travel experience easier and simple. So every time that you design something, start by removing. We started when we designed this presentation, Andreas, it was like twice the size, right? And we started shrinking down.
And it's still a little big.
And it's still long. Hire engineers and rent a designer, and I don't want to say that you don't need to have a UX team. What I'm saying here is that you need to have insight engineering knowledge in your company to support consultant like Andreas that comes with ideas, but you needed to check about feasibility. And the importance of APIs. I know it seems like hygienic factors, but for enterprises it's not, absolutely not. We have challenges with APIs integration, so think about build APIs. If there are low-hanging fruits that you can take, but you need to start working on big projects that fix the data, because design trends changes, and iOS 7 is an example. Data will never change, will always be there. And the most important for me is the sixth one, is create an innovation lab. We're actually starting off now. And I will be in charge, so I feel really proud of this. And it's about putting people together, brainstorm, prototyping, create, doing development, and send it to the factory that create. And there are gazillions of innovative company like Lego that had people and users and actually customer interacting and being part of the innovation lab.
For anything that is relevant to you and your business, you need to have a strategy for. So if you haven't asked yourself those basic questions, what drives your business and what you can do in the mobile channel to enable it, that's an important step to take when you start. Listen to the customer. It sounds like cliche, but pay attention to the App Store reviews, pay attention to the Twitter feeds and Facebook and all of that, and inject that into the cycles of your project. And then finally, make it core to the business and make business core to it. And design it with beauty in mind. It has to look good. If you downloaded an app and it doesn't look good, you throw it away, right? So beauty is really important. And then make sure you have a structured approach to quality assurance and in this case, mobile testing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.